everyone, and welcome to Prepper Chicks After Dark. It is Tuesday, July the 8th, 2014, and we are gathered together tonight to play some Conflicted, the survival card game, a deck of 52 cards. We're going to throw some scenarios out there and see what may fall. Will we do it? Will we not? Will we lose our morality tonight? Our ethics are out the window. So let's see what happens. So, back with us tonight, the tried, the true, the one and only, Alika.
Hello again.
Hey, welcome back.
Thank you. I am with SHTFready.com. We are a prepping forum that teaches how to prep and survive. We get the tinfoil hat theories out and focus on the important parts. You all heard of the ant and the grasshopper story? We teach you to be the ant.
Awesomeness, and my favorite geek in the world, Geek Prepper. How are you doing tonight?
What's up? Hey, it's Geek Prepper, www.geekprepper.org, giving you the edge when shit hits the fan. We don't post as much because we don't regurgitate the same prepper knowledge you see out there, so stop by and hang with us.
Awesomeness. Didi, did you make it on with us tonight? I wasn't sure. He had to work, so we weren't sure what was going on. So 3 decks are already out on the market right now, so make sure you get those. You have decks 1 and 2. Deck 3 is off of the book by G. Michael Hoff, so make sure you get that. And then Working Hard, Eddie and I are beta testing the Conflicted deck for Droid, because we're not Apple people at all. So we're definitely beta testing and excited to see the Droid coming out soon. That's for sure. So we have a special guest tonight. We had some Skype issues this morning that we ran into. Seem to have gotten them fixed today. So excited about this because I just read through his book called Collective Retribution, and I'm going to drop his website into the chat room right now. It's collectiveretribution.com. The author's name is D.S. Edwards, and I tell you what, you read through the book, and it's like reading the headlines out of the news right now. So, welcome, D.S. How are you tonight?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
How's the west side of the country doing?
You know, it's not too bad. We got a lightning and thunderstorm kind of trying to snap around the edges, but it hasn't came over us yet. You might lose me. If you do, we'll hook up some other way, but
we'll make sure we catch you. But really, we're going to have you back on the AM show so we can definitely get down and dirty into your book because you have a lot to say. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, about the book, and what's going on from here?
Well, not a lot to say. I'm a small-town boy, grew up in a town with 1 stoplight and 2,000 people, and I still get there as much as I can for, archery, hunting, and different things in the outdoors. The book, I finished Collective Retribution about 1.5 years ago. I finished the rough draft and finally got to publication in February, and it's just eerie how much I see taking place that I wrote about before it took place. So it's kind of waking me up. It woke me up to the whole prepping notion because I never even thought about it until I started writing the book. In fact, the book was originally supposed to be a political thriller, and it morphed into something totally different, and it completely changed my mind and my outlook, and it really, I made myself see the need to prep after, going on the journey through the book. So that's really what it's about.
Yeah, it's definitely, you want to give everybody a hint, kind of, I know if you go to the website, you can actually download, FYI, a sample copy of the book.
Yeah, you can get a sample copy on the website. You can actually read a sample on the Facebook page. Search Collective Retribution on Facebook. You can, read a sample on there. You can read a sample on Amazon. You can read a sample on BarnesandNoble.com, Kindle. So wherever you can find the book, you can find a sample. The thing about the website is I try and sell as many, signed copies from the website as I can because 10% of all of the proceeds from the website sales go to Gary Sinise for his foundation with veterans. So I really want to give back to Gary Sinise, and I really like what he does as opposed to Wounded Warrior and some others is because he pays for everything out of pocket. There is no administrative costs that come out of donations. Every penny of it goes to the vets.
Awesome. I'm answering questions in the chat room. So, you guys ready to play some Conflicted?
I'm ready.
I was gonna say nobody answer at once. Shout out to everyone in the chat room. Looks like we have a full house tonight. Got to have some downtime this afternoon, so a special shout out to the chickies, Donna and Kathy. We got to go out and do some shooting and release some tension. So, always a good time. So, big shout out to them. Princess is here with us tonight. It looks like Road. Mom Jane with the prep, Mom Jane with the prep. Jane, Mom with the prep is in here. Hunt, we've got Road Dog, we've got Salty Old Dog. The Deer Farmer's wife is here. Hey, Susan. Hunt, I'm going to miss a lot of people, I know, but much, much appreciated you guys being here. But go over to collectiveretribution.com and get a sneak peek at what's going on in the book. Like I said, it's 300 and let me back up here. 335 pages, pretty much ripped from the headlines. So let's get started here. So I'm going to throw out the first question. So here we go. You didn't listen and you didn't prepare. How many of those people do we know right now? All hell breaks loose, and you don't have enough ammo, food, or water. There's chaos in the streets, and open looting is going on. No one who you turn to as far as friends and family could take you and your family in. Would you become a criminal to provide for your family and join the looters or not? If the answer is no, how would you survive? So, who's the biggest Doctor Who fan on the panel tonight? I'm going to say Geek Prepper is. What would you do?
Crime would be a last resort, but I wouldn't hesitate if my family was on the line. I guess I would loot from companies and businesses before I would steal from other prepared people or other people. So if I couldn't get it in the wild, I would loot. I hate to say it, I would do it.
Okay, all right. So Lika, any change to that?
I would loot, but I would loot what I need and keep coming back. There is a danger of the items being gone for a second time around, but even though my family's starving, I think I would just loot what I need and
bare necessities.
And have a clear conscience about it.
How far would it have to get in order for you to step over that boundary line?
I mean, even if I was able to obtain some kind of small compound or even a clubhouse or something where I could store excess goods, I don't think I would get crazy with it. I still think I would take what I need and maybe stock up for weeks on end instead of just trying to take all of Walmart back to my hideout,
Would you look for specific things, or would you just loot the hell out of everything just to have a collection going on that you could maybe barter with later on?
Well, if I was in a looting situation, I think I would loot what I would need specifically, and maybe one or two items to. All right, I don't drink bottom shelf vodka, but I know some other drunk will, and it will trade me some ammo or a weapon for it. But again, it would be bare necessities. I wouldn't go to the extreme because I wouldn't want anybody stealing from me. Yeah.
Would you go out yourself and do it, or would you send your wife or a teenage child, or how would you go about it?
I would definitely leave the wife at home. It's just, I guess, being the husband and the man, I would have to protect. I wouldn't put my own wife in danger. But if it got really crazy and my kids were of age, teenage shooting age, I think I would bring them on one or two pillaging adventures if I would think there would be no action or harm coming to them.
Okay. Now, Mom says if you decide you're going to loot all of Walmart, you have to take the people of Walmart with you. I thought that was kind of funny.
Then I think I would actually shoot them.
DS, what do you think?
Well, I guess it depends on where a person is located that didn't bother to prep. I mean, it's funny to me. I run into people in the cities who don't have any groceries at all in their house. They don't even have a can of soup or a loaf of bread. I mean, they live meal to meal. If they want to cook a meal at home, they go to the store and they buy a steak and they buy the fixins, and that's all the groceries they have. I mean, they don't even have a gallon of milk in the fridge. Now, in my part of the country, I mean, there's always something to eat. I think what I would do is, if I had to, I would, do the looting thing. I'd try and find the houses that were abandoned. But I think the main thing I would do is hang out with what I had in my house. Even though I didn't prep, there's enough in the house with rice and just, a can of soup, for crying out loud, or crackers, to where a guy could ration his food and his water that he had, in the back of his toilet tank, for instance. You could ration that for 3 or 4 days. And I think if there's a sudden societal collapse, in 3 or 4 days, there's going to be a lot of people weeded out, and there's going to be a lot of empty homes and a lot of bodies laying in the streets. So I think at that point, that would be the time to go out and see what resources a person could, drum up if they lived in a more populated area.
I was going to say, how long would it take people to get to that stage, do you think? Do you think 3 or 4 days is practical for people to start the whole, I don't have enough food? I mean, I understand the city because I go to Indianapolis. There's like these little grocery stores on the corner. If you want to get a substantial amount of groceries, you have to go outside of the city itself because they don't have anything within the city. So unless you have a car, which a lot of people don't, my mother-in-law lives in Brooklyn, New York. She has a C-store. It's just a little itty-bitty thing. If she wants the amount of groceries I buy, she's got to go outside of town to get it.
And you have to look at the level of societal collapse. I mean, is it just a power outage localized, or is it the entire, power grid down in the nation? If that happens, I mean, there's 3 days supply of food on the grocery store shelves in the most well-stocked grocery stores. If they didn't restock, it'd be empty in just a matter of days. So it just depends on what level of collapse we're talking about, and I think we're all talking about a major collapse. So I don't think it would be very long at all. 72 to 96 hours, and things would be really chaotic.
Okay, 2 things I disagree. First of all is the 3 days. We've seen it this past winter where it took 3 hours. Sometimes as little as 30 minutes. You're laughing, but I'm right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that whole 3-day BS, I'm going to call it BS, because once people realize what's going on, those grocery stores are going to be wiped clean.
Yeah, it won't take long, but people might not realize right away what's going on. I mean, if there's a power failure, because it happens every year, wintertime gets harsh, well, the power goes out. There's a blackout area for 3 days or 2 days or, 24 hours. It takes people a while to figure out, but once they figure it out, oh yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Once they figure out and they know that, wait a minute, Con Ed's not turning my lights back on, then it's going to be mass chaos.
That was leading into the second part, the rioting that's going to start in 3 to 4 days. I'm comparing it to, and I'm playing devil's advocate here, I'm comparing it to the blackout that the Northeast saw, oh my goodness, 10 years ago or so? And of course, we've got family that live in New York City itself, and you would think, if we're going to see riots, that's when it's going to be. I mean, total no electricity. They remained peaceful and calm. How long do you think it's going to be for people to hit that switch that, nothing's going to happen here, I'm on my own? Because we saw, how long was that blackout for? A week?
Yeah, news travels fast. I mean, even without technology. So it just would all depend on, who has what technology that wasn't hooked up to the power grid. Say there's an EMP, for instance, nothing's going to work. No cell phones, no anything. But it just would depend on what technology is out there. And then people are going to start talking, well, I can't get on here. There's dead air on all the TV stations. I mean, it's just a matter of whether or not people realize that there's an entire 100% collapse. And I think once they do, like you said, it's going to be a matter of, hours, and there's going to be mass chaos.
Yeah, because I think there's a lot of normalcy bias right now out in the non-prepping mindset that, things will be okay. Just give it a couple days and things will be back to normal. It's going to be really hard for people to admit that McDonald's is not going to open up on the weekend.
Oh, man.
You will survive.
The McRib is not coming back.
Oh, goodness. I've no. You know, people are going to be a whole lot healthier whether they want to be or not. So, any suggestions on off-grid communication? I'm going to throw this out to each of you to prepare for something like this. What do you guys think? In the case of an EMP, what can people do now in order to ensure that they know what the rest of their family is going to be doing?
Anybody? Okay, I'll answer. So, maybe, possibly, it's not a bad idea to, store a couple of, handheld communication devices, handheld radios, and some extra batteries, and maybe a transistor, AM/FM radio. It's not a bad idea to build a small, or you can even buy them now, small Faraday cage, and at least have that stuff set aside. So if you need it, at least you can communicate with others in your party, over short distances. So that's something you can do. But as far as, long distance communication, well, forget it. It's not going to happen, in my opinion.
So a plan in place beforehand. Basically, you need to have that rough conversation. If this happens, this is what we need to do.
Yeah.
It can be a little unnerving for somebody that has college kids on the other side of the country. Or, relatives,
Yeah.
Sure. Alika, Geek, you guys got any suggestions?
That's all you can do is the Faraday cage. I mean, I know someone who has a small Faraday cage with a couple of those little $30 Baofeng 2-meter, 70-centimeter radios. I mean, you can get some pretty decent communication out of those, but you're not talking hundreds of miles. You're talking 20 miles if you're on a hill with a good antenna. So yeah, I mean that's really all you've got. I mean your solar system is going to be fried. I mean all your power stuff's going to be cooked. You're not going to be able to do long distance comms. So it's going to be local.
So if you guys are out there listening, your best bet, if you have family across the United States, is have a plan and work the plan. Know what everybody else is going to do.
Pony Express, baby. I'm going to start one up as soon as that hits.
There you go. Do you think that if we got hit by an EMP, do you think it would be localized, or do you think if somebody decides they're going to attack us with that kind of mechanism that they would do it across the board? DS, what do you think? Localized or one shot and it's over?
Well, it could be localized, but I can say right now with as wide open as our southern border is, and even our northern border is even more wide open than our southern border, but there's more people who, have an affliction of dislike towards America, coming from the southern side. But as wide open as that is, it's not difficult to get some very nasty things across that southern border. And if it's coordinated, which they're getting very well coordinated, together, the Islamic extremists and different people, it wouldn't be hard to coordinate an attack. And if they did it in such a manner, like in my book, they could actually wipe out the power grid over the entire North American continent if they, synced their watches and did everything at the exact right time. But even if it's localized, it's going to take a while to get that back up. So there's still going to be some real nasty chaos within that area until the UN comes in and makes it worse. But there's still going to be some nasty chaos even if it's localized. But I think it would be easy to do it on a grander scale.
Alika, what do you think? One point or multiple points?
No, I think it would be a multiple point in sync operation. It would have to be, because if you hit a single point, or if you hit New York City, you're going to decimate the city, but the survivors will just get out of the affected area. To be effective, they would have to hit every state at the exact same time.
Absolutely.
Or into succession.
Geek, what do you think?
I think, we already saw warships come up to the right to our borders. Like Iran sent one over. I mean, those ships are capable of launching nuclear weapons, and one set off in the atmosphere would create an EMP pulse that would cover a very vast distance, so they'd only have to use, maybe 5-6 missiles, and they could strip our whole country down.
Do you think they were just testing?
Oh yeah, I definitely were. I definitely think they were. Not to speak ill of anyone, but our administration is a bunch of pussies. You like I disclaimed that first? Not to be mean, but you suck. I mean, we have the worst administration I've ever seen. No one takes us seriously. I think that, things are coming across the southern border, not to digress, but we're going to have problems because there is crap wandering in this country, and I've heard some pretty scary things. It's coming from all directions. So I'm going to throw this out to all three of you. If an EMP were to go off and say there were multiples, where do you think and who do you think, who do you think will be targeting what? And you guys
clarify.
What country do you think would be targeting maybe what part of the United States?
Well, I don't think it would be necessarily a country as much as it would be an ideology. I don't see it as being a country, like I said, as much as an ideology. Even within countries who aren't, Islamic extremists, terrorists, there's, there could be coordinated plans with people from all kinds of countries. I mean, I don't know if it would necessarily be just a country doing it. Now, after everything collapsed, I could see other countries, if they weren't affected, it's not going to be a global, power grid failure. It would probably be the United States. And I could see other countries within hours of an EMP attack, within just a matter of hours, coming in and trying to claim America's natural resources, and I think we'd have, other warfare on our hands at that point. So I don't think it would be necessarily a country starting it, but that would be the catalyst for, all-out war when other countries came in to, seize American resources.
Do you think these people could possibly already be here?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look at, like your other guy, I can't remember, Alika. I mean, look at the administration we have now. I mean, whether or not they're inviting them in, it's been made pretty darn easy, and there's been no attempt to, keep them out. I mean, they could be here now, and the weapons could be here now. They could be on their way. They could be here. I mean, look at Iran's nuclear program. I mean, look at the former Soviet Union. You think Putin's a friend of ours? Do you think he wouldn't think twice about giving a nuclear weapon to someone he thought would destroy the U.S. and make it easier for him to come in and claim the resources? I mean, think about it. I don't think it's that difficult at all. They could already be here.
Suitcase nukes, they're here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you were listening to this show right now, is there places that you would tell people to kind of shy away from?
Well, myself, I mean, I wouldn't want to be in any urban area, any large city. I mean, Portland, Oregon, New York City, Los Angeles, California. I wouldn't want to be in any large urban area. I wouldn't want to be there right now. I mean, I'm blessed to live where I live out in the middle of nowhere. I wouldn't want to be in an urban area.
Woo, Washington, D.C.
Oh, no, thank you.
That's where I'm, my backyard, baby.
And that's my favorite city, by the way. I absolutely love visiting D.C. I love it. But I would want to be there if something happened. Yeah, visiting, exactly. Keyword.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think that a country or a group of people would actually target Washington, D.C., or would they leave it so they could make their demands on, the people that run this country?
Oh, no, they won't why would they make demands and negotiate with, politicians when they could not have to negotiate with anybody? I think they would target it absolutely right away. I mean, if you tear down a country's political infrastructure, I mean, the United States being the one exception where people are going to fight because we still have firearms, knock on wood, the operative word still have firearms. But I don't think they would want to, have people that they would have to negotiate with. I mean, why not wipe them out and make it easier to come in and claim things?
Okay, good point. We are at 11:26, so we're going to have everyone reintroduce themselves real fast. And then DS has a signed, autographed copy of his book, Collective Retribution, which you can go to collectiveretribution.com, and you can download a little bit of it. But he's going to give a trivia question, so you guys in the chat room, get your Google fingers ready, because he's the first one that gives the correct answer is going to win a signed copy of his book. So, Geek, who are you and where can we find you? Awesomeness.
I am Geek Prepper. You can find me at www.geekprepper.org. That is Geek, not Greek Prepper, Geek Prepper, because I'm a nerd. And there you can find links to Facebook and Google Plus and, our mailing list. And we're all about giving you the edge when shit hits the fan. Any edge that makes you better than the people around you is going to be a game changer and a force multiplier. So come hang out with us. You won't find the usual garbage. You'll find some good stuff.
Awesome. And Alika?
I am with SHTFready.com. We're a prepping forum. We teach prepping, surviving. We keep the tinfoil hats out, and we teach you to be the ant, not the grasshopper.
And DS.
Well, DS, author of Collective Retribution. You can find it on the website, collectiveretribution.com. You can follow me on Twitter at DS Edwards Author. You can find it on Facebook at Search Collective Retribution. And yeah, I'm just somebody who wrote a book to make a difference. I mean, I want to make a difference, and I thought the written word is the best way that I know how. I don't have a big platform, so yeah, that's who I am. And give me a shout out, look me up, and buy the book and enjoy it. And John B., I must say, I really like the hat. That is freaking awesome.
Thanks, man. Sporting my fedora.
That's cool.
Indiana Jones style.
Fedoras are cool, right?
They are when you're bald.
All right, DS. We've given the chat room enough time to warm their fingers up. So you have a trivia question for them. First person with the correct answer, you need to email me at prepperchicks@yahoo.com or go over and email or find DS on his Facebook page and get connected to him. So either or is the way to do it. So, DS, what's your trivia question for tonight?
All right, so one of my favorite guys in American history, and he was kind of a propagandist, and he wrote a line, and I don't have the exact line in front of me, but it was, he was warning against, he was talking about the time of the Sunshine Patriot or the Summer Soldier, coming to an end. He was warning us not to be Sunshine Patriots. So I want his name, and I'd kind of like to have the name of the book, too. That would be kind of cool as a bonus. If you send me, give me the name of the writer, and as a bonus, if you give me the name of the book, then I'll go ahead and send a paperback copy too.
All right, you guys in the chat room are on. So, DS, one more time. What's the quote?
The quote is it's talking about the time of the Sunshine Patriot or the Summer Soldier coming to an end. I don't know the exact quote, but he's warning us against being Sunshine Patriots or Summer Soldiers. In other words, only when it's convenient.
Okay. Well, let the chat room go at that because I'm sure every Google page is open right now. Anybody have a question they want to throw out?
I got one.
Go ahead.
This is off the third deck. Derek's alternative lifestyle choice would have alienated Gordon before the collapse, but Gordon wasn't as discerning in the new world. Does gender or sexual orientation affect your perception of combat readiness? Why or why not?
Okay, I'm gonna pause this for a second. The American Crisis by Thomas Paine.
Yay! Ding, 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 ding.
Vince Easley is one of our co-pilots here on UCY.tv. So that's awesome. So Vince, well, you know how to find me, and I'm sure you've already stalked down DS Edwards already. So get in touch with us, and we'll make sure that happens. But congratulations, Vince. Okay, so sorry, Alika, go ahead. Redo your question real fast.
All right. Derek's alternative lifestyle choice would have alienated Gordon before the collapse, but Gordon wasn't as discerning in the new world. Does gender or sexual orientation affect your perception of combat readiness? Why or why not?
Well, we've seen that in the military here recently with everything going on. So, sexual orientation. What do you think, Geek?
I don't think it's a problem. I know many women who are badass shooters, and I know some pretty tough homosexual men. I mean, I if I didn't know they were gay, I wouldn't pick a fight with them. I mean, you can't. I mean, people are people, and you don't know where they come from or what they got. So, was it a ninja or Jesus that said never refuse help from anyone? I think it was a ninja. Maybe it was Jesus.
Ninja Jesus?
Ninja Jesus may have said it, or Confucius. Who knows? So yeah, I mean, anyone can be a bad mofo. You never know who you're tangling with.
So you'd want them on your team?
I wouldn't turn them away if they showed me they could hit something, 400 yards, and I don't care who they sleep with. It ain't gonna be me.
I got
not right away.
I got a curveball for you.
Throwing down the curveball.
Yeah, hit me with the curve. I love these.
All right, it's combat readiness. Not only includes shooting. Would you be as concerned if they could pull your injured carcass out of the battlefield?
That's true. I think you would have to take that into account when designing your fire teams or your groups, because maybe some slight-built men with the women. I mean, maybe they just don't drag you out. Maybe they just put a cap in you and call it a day. If you get injured.
I've seen some women that could drag any of you guys out of anywhere.
There's that big lady on Game of Thrones. She's like 6 feet tall. That Brienne of Tar. I don't know if you guys watch that. She's a big lady.
There's nothing wrong with a female that's 6 foot. You better watch it.
No, not at all. My aunt, my sister, and my daughters are probably going to be 6 foot. They're taller than their mom already, and they're like 8 years old.
No, I only mentioned this because when I was getting ready to go overseas, we had a couple of females in our unit, and they just could not carry myself. I'm topping 250 or a bunch of the other big guys in my unit, so that's why I threw that ball curve.
Well, women can be resourceful there, and if we, alleviate you from your arms and your legs and a few other maybe appendages, we might be able to drag your ass out of there.
Yeah, I think to me it's a non-issue. I mean, it's a matter of combat readiness, toughness, skills, critical thinking. To me, that's what the issue is. Now, in the military now, today's current military, yeah, I can see how it would be an issue because there's people trying to make it an issue, trying to push an agenda. And, I can see how it would be an issue because the military recruiters, the planners, those who are signing up, they would be more apt with the current administration and the current, pulse of the country. They would be more apt to, even if someone wasn't ready, put that person in place to fill a quota, to have a token. And I think that's a problem. But in a survival situation, I don't care if they're blue, yellow, green, red, if they,
as long as they're not neon.
As long as they're combat ready, fine. If there's a guy who's very effeminate and has arms the size of toothpicks and has no critical skills, no, you're leaving, buddy. You ain't part of my group. That's all there is to it. So I think it's a non-issue.
So as long as they don't, they're not neon and they don't glow, So let me ask you this. If you had a choice, and this is to all three of you, if you had a choice between someone that was physically buffed out or somebody but maybe didn't have all the skills, or someone that was mentally buffed out, but maybe not as physically fit as the other one, which one would you choose?
It would depend on how many physically fit people were in the group. I mean, I would take a mental person any day over a physically fit person if I had other physically fit people. I mean, everybody has their role. Everybody has a role to play. So it would depend on what my makeup was of the group that I was in or that I was a part of. I mean, mental stamina and mental critical thinking is, the most important thing in combat. I mean, ask your, Alika, and I mean, it's a mental game. So I would pick that unless I didn't have anybody who was strong enough to pull their own weight.
Okay. Alika, which one would you choose?
Mental. It's easy to get scrawny geek nerd
oh, snap!
It's easy to get.
No, you didn't.
It's easy to get the scrawny guy buffed up and
banana
putting them through regimental PT program to get him to the or her to the physical stature you want them.
Good
it's
point.
It's kind of harder to teach mental skills to somebody that just can only lift things up and put them down. It's plain and simple.
Excellent point.
Geek, what do you think?
I'm going to say mental. I mean, it doesn't take physical strength to be a brutal, smart killing machine. I mean, you can be a scrawny guy or a really chubby, overweight nerd who knows how to shoot guns. I mean, it could be anything. Well, some of those bulky guys aren't always so smart. I'm not stereotyping, but they've never had to be smart because they're big and brawny. So.
It's true. If you ever seen those special operators, I mean, Navy SEALs all the way down to the Rangers, they're not big buff dudes. They're just scrawny, fit guys. But their mental capabilities, I believe you have to have a GT score of 115 to even get looked at to be considered to join any of these special operating groups. So they look for mental over brawn any day, too.
It's the same requirement to get on my blog. You have to have the GT score of at least 200, whatever that means.
Oh, my goodness. It's getting deep. All right, here, I'm going to say you guys had a question, unless somebody has one real fast. Okay, good. List 5 crimes punishable by death in a post-apocalyptic world that in the world of today does not carry that sentence. So, 5 crimes punishable by death in a post-apocalyptic world that today's world does not carry that sentence. So, DS, what do you think? Give me 5.
I'm still writing. Well, I got 3. Rape, child molestation, absolutely done, gone, dead. Murder, I would almost have to say stealing of, I don't know. I'm conflicted. I'm conflicted.
As long as we've been doing this show, you're the first one that's ever said that.
Really? Oh, that's awesome. I totally set a trend tonight. No, rape, murder, child molestation, to name 3. Certain thing. It would depend on how brutal the post-apocalyptic world is. I mean, are we going to hang somebody for horse stealing like they did in the 1800s? So, are we going to throw stealing in there?
Mad Max.
Well, yeah, what are we going to throw in there? So I would think those 3 for me. It takes a lot for me to want to take someone's life. If one, you harm my family, one, you harm a child. There's certain things that I don't have any line. The line is very clear. There's certain things that I won't, let someone get away with crossing. And so, I don't know. It would take a lot. So those 3 for sure.
Okay. Geek, what do you think?
We have a big problem with overdue library books in this country. So I think we need to smack some people down. No.
Who the hell invited him on this show?
Yeah, I actually went with, I combined rape and child molestation. I said sexual crimes, so like any kind of sexual assault, theft and murder, obviously, operational security, giving someone recon on your position like an enemy.
Good one.
And then I was kind of stumped there, so I said, dereliction of duty. So I guess if you fall asleep at your post or something, seems kind of harsh, but what else are you going to do? It's dog eat dog, right? If they fall asleep, you may die. So,
damn, who needs coffee when you have death looming over
That's right. Death always keeps me awake. Coffee, whatever. My wife threatening to kill me, I'm awake.
It's funny, and, I think we all agree rape and child molestation is number 1, but that's probably going to be the number 1 job for most people.
That's going to be a problem, yeah.
Yeah, in a post-apocalyptic world. It's just going to be rampant. I'm not talking, necessarily rape and molestation, but the sex business is going to just explode.
It sure is.
Well, it's already exploding more than what we realize. Human trafficking and everything is just out of freaking control, and we never hear about it.
Oh, I have, here in Indy, during the Super Bowl,
it's
It's a
unbelievable.
known fact. You know, the trucks driving around town with all the girls in the back, just waiting. You know, finding that person. Yeah. Hotel rooms, carting these girls in left and right. I mean, just unbelievable.
You people in Indiana, oh my
Oh,
God.
honey, it's not just here.
Yeah, I met.
I'm from there. I know exactly what you mean.
It really is a major problem. I met the gentleman who was behind the Liam Neeson movie Taken, and talked with him at some length, and it's amazing. I mean, it was eye-opening to realize exactly how large of an industry and how nasty that is within our own country. I mean, it's worldwide, but within our own country, it's amazing.
Yeah. Alika, what do you think?
I mean, I'm pretty much on par with everybody else. I think the only new one I would add would be the leader of roving gangs, the guy that's the shot caller. I mean, if he's telling you the rest of these people to steal, rape, and pillage, he needs to go. That's a crime against humanity.
The head of the snake.
Yeah, exactly. Get rid of his underlings and the guy calling the shots. He's like a mafia boss. He doesn't want to get his hands dirty, but he tells everybody else what to do. You need to go. Get him on some Prepper Rico laws.
I'm going through some stuff in the chat room right now, and I just question I'm going to throw out. We've got about 16 minutes left or so. We've seen it in the news and what's going on overseas, specifically, you know, with Israel and with the IS, or ISIS, or ISIL, or whatever you want to call them, the Islamic State. You know, Sharia law is harsh at times, and if we had a downgrade situation here, how much do you think that sector of the population is going to explode and try and take over and implement their way of life versus how we do things now? And we have silence.
Well, there again, it's region specific. I mean, it's region specific. There's not a huge population here where I'm at, but there might be a big population in New York City, and I think it could be a problem in some urban areas. I could see it as being a problem with that. I mean, if they're able to recruit Americans now, and even people who, you know, agreed and vowed to protect the Constitution, I mean, if they're able to recruit them now on our own soil, yeah, in an apocalyptic situation where desperation is great, if they provide another way for people, yeah, I think it'd be very easy for them to start making that a way of life.
Would you add someone that follows Sharia law onto your 5?
Well, they can come into my 5, but I'm not going to follow all the tenets of Sharia law. I mean, if a woman's face isn't covered, I'm not going to stone her to death. I'm not going to beat her. I'm not going to, it's kind of a silly question, but I guess that's the game conflicted. I mean, what do you do? I mean, what would happen? So, yeah, I would let them in, but I'm not going to follow their tenets. I mean, if they're going to be with me, they're going to follow our laws and our morals, and that's the way it is.
Geek, what do you think?
I would like to say I'm not going to let him in because that's not what I believe. I believe that, and this is going to get me in trouble, I believe that's a false religion, and I think that's part of the the end times crap. I think those people are going to spread out because they come from environments where grid is down. There is no damn grid in the desert. So they're going to prey on these entitlement people who are weak-minded and don't do anything, and they're going to do the same thing they do in other countries. They're going to exploit the dumb with fear and threats of death, and then give them all these. Well, the only thing you got for you is 72 virgins in paradise. I think it's going to be an explosion. I think them and gangs will be our big threat. Well, dogs too. Gangs, dogs, and Muslims. Did I say that too loud?
No, I agree with Geek. Absolutely. That's going to be absolutely easy. And besides that, how many of those guys are going to want to join Geek's group or my group or Alika's group or your group? I mean, honestly, they're not going to want to join.
Alika?
As far as letting somebody that worships or that is Muslim into my fold, it would have to be. I would have to vet them pretty well, and because you got fundamentalists in every religion, and if they're spouting out Sharia this, Sharia that, yeah, it's time to go. But I mean, there are, believe it or not, peaceful Muslims out there. If freedom to be you gives me the freedom to be free from you. Yeah, I would. As long as you're not pushing it on me, I'm not going to push my religion on you. We just work together and survive. I will let them in. But anything radical or fundamentalist, I would say no.
Okay.
What about you, Prepper Chick? Would you let them in? Would you hang with them?
No.
Good girl. You can come hang out with us in D.C.
And it's not that I would either, also go after them or instigate anything or anything like that. It's just a complete contradictory to what I believe in. So, I'm not going to go down that route.
Yeah, see, I look at it a little bit differently. I mean, it goes against everything that I believe in. You and I have talked, not at great length, but, Prepper Chick, we've talked a little bit. It also gives me the opportunity, if someone is desperate and they've been following that and they have nobody that they've glommed onto, they haven't heard about the 12th Imam that's rising up or whatever, that's also my opportunity to show them a different way to, do what I'm supposed to do and fulfill the Great Commission. So that's also an opportunity for me. And if I can help somebody along, the path that I believe, and they can actually help the group, well, I'm with Alika, I'd vet them heavily, but I probably would, just because, that's my opportunity to minister to somebody. And that's really what's happening. What I see in the end times with my prepping is not just for me, but we need to be, those of us who believe, need to be the church in the end times. And that's not going to look like a building with four walls that we see now. So it's, everyday life. So that's my thoughts.
Oh, snap.
I have spent this last week, doing research on this ISIS, or whatever you want to call it. And, we have to understand, we are force-fed a lot of information in the news by the major networks that is false. And, it's our responsibility as adults to try and, weed through this as best as we can and get to the truth, And I know a lot of missionaries, and I can tell you that this group of Islamists over there that are wreaking havoc and are, last I heard, were about ready to take over the Baghdad airport. There's going to come a point in time for each of us, if and when we do have a downgrade situation, that we're going to have to make choices. Unfortunately, not whether or not to smell the daisies or the roses. I mean, it's going to come down to life or death. Because there's always, history. If we look at history, it just repeats itself over and over again. Someone is going to try and take over. We're not going to be able to live. A lot of people in the prepper world, survivalist world, or with the same mindset, thinks that if the grid goes down, we're just going to stay in our house and we're going to farm our land, and that's going to be the end of it. And I hate to wake them up to say that isn't going to happen. You might live for a little while in some peace, but eventually someone's going to come and try and take over. And how, so a question based upon that, how long let me just ask this. We've had a downgrade situation. You live on a ranch in Montana. You think everything is hunky-dory. The grid goes down, you're just fine up where you're at because you have a couple hundred acres, you've got ranchers around you of the same mindset that you've known forever. 4 months down the road, somebody comes to take over. Do you think you should have stepped up to help the country when it first happened? Or where's your mindset at there? Or do you just keep waiting? Geek, what do you think?
Well, I'm not anywhere safe, so I'm going to be in the mix from day one. So I'm going to be practiced and tried by that time. I do have plans to move to a less populated area. But I'm never going to be totally urban because of my profession. I'm a nerd. I mean, I have to be near cities to sell myself. Well, that doesn't sound right. To sell my technology powers.
We left the sex trade a little while ago.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm never going to be truly isolated. So, I mean, even if you're 10, 20, 50, 100 miles from, a city, you're still going to have it. I mean, they're going to come, they're going to find you because the pickings are going to get slim in the easy places.
Would you leave your family to go fight for this country, to bring it back to where, well, not necessarily where we're at now, but upon the ideals of the Constitution?
I would. I'm not happy about it. I actually think about that all the time. I mean, what if I do have to, go to battle for my country? Against who? Against my country? I mean, I think about that, and I think we're all going to be called to, refresh the Tree of Liberty at some point.
Alika, what do you think? Would you wait and see what happens, or would you immediately go into battle and try and get as many like-minded people as possible behind you?
I would wait, band down the hatches, make sure that my homestead's is suited up and ready for whatever may come. If I was on a ranch in Montana,
But you stand the chance of opposing forces gathering large numbers if you wait.
Yeah, but I would try and keep my ear to the ground as much as I can, and and during that time I would start, working on security defenses and getting with my neighbors and stuff, and making sure we have fallout plans if the ranch A gets overtaken. We can always fall back to ranch B down the road, 10 miles down the road or whatever, and try and regroup and fight them off from there, and so on and so forth. But and then once my homestead was safe and secure, I think I would branch out, go, town, city, and then the rest of the state, and then hopefully once you create a safe zone, you can start branching out more and more and more, and go on to other states, organizing people that the same mindset to as yours to get order back. That's how I would picture it.
Okay, alrighty. DS, what do you think?
Well, nothing brings people together like a common enemy. I mean, 9/11 brought us a common enemy. World War II brought us common enemies. Nothing brings people together like a common enemy. And I don't believe that in a situation like a lot of us believe, the power grid is a major thing. I don't think in a situation like that there's going to be time to sit around and farm and live for 6 months or even a year, because the U.S. military now is semi-prepared for the event, in the event of an EMP. I mean, I give it just a couple of months, and the U.S. military will be back at least 50% capacity. They'll have vehicles that run. They'll be back at some capacity within a couple of months. Now, it depends on who is in power at the time that a collapse happens. If you've got an administration like you have now, and you've got people in place stacking the deck like you have now, I agree with Alika and John. Geek, you have to start thinking about the possibility that you're going to have to refresh that Tree of Liberty with the blood of patriots and tyrants. You have to start thinking about that. So I don't think the enemies so much are going to be ourselves and roving gangs. I don't think there's going to be enough time to get large roving gangs, because I think the common enemy is going to be either the government, if it's the type of administration we have now, or it's going to be foreign invaders at that point. So I don't think we're going to have that opportunity. Let's put it that way.
Okay. One last question, and then we'll have you each reintroduce yourself, because we are down to 4 minutes. On a scale 1 to 10, 10 being an absolute yes, what do you think the chances of martial law being declared before 2016? Alika?
Are you asking that based on current
events?
I don't see that happening unless a major natural disaster happened.
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I would keep it in them. I would rate it as a 3.
Okay. Malika, what do you think?
I just said 3.
I'm sorry, Geek.
I'm thinking more of like a 7. I think that everything that's going on at the border, and I think, and just the way the media's been, I'm of the opinion that they're pushing for it. They want to start a fight. So 7, 8.
But they're already getting the UN involved in what's going on in our southern border. It's hit the news today.
Yeah, and Detroit's trying to get the UN to help them with their water crisis, and they hired a disarmament specialist. I mean, there's something brewing.
Oh, yeah, there is. So let's just give, full authority to the UN and become, part of the world.
They can suck it.
Pretty much so. DS, what do you think?
Well, if we don't turn the corner and we don't go down a different path, I would say 9, 10. It all depends on whether or not we continue down the road we're continuing down now, and that we're pushing towards harder and harder and harder. I mean, look what happened in Nevada. We were a hair width away from an all-out crazy, not just there, but all over the U.S. battle. I mean, I don't know if people realize how close that was to snapping, and people feel it. People have made their choice now. They've decided on which side they want to stand on. And so I think we're close right now, unless we can come together and figure out how to solve our economic problems, our border crisis, our different things. I say a 9-10. I absolutely see it coming unless we turn it around now.
Well, I was listening to Primer Time before us, and one of the guys lives in Texas, and they said that they called in the Rangers today to help with the crisis down there. But it looks like the UN is trying to give asylum, which is going to back us into a corner, and a pretty nasty one.
Yeah.
So, all right, quick introductions. DS, lead us out. Where are you from?
All right, D.S. Edwards, live in Oregon, and the book is Collective Retribution.
Thank you, guys.